Is there anybody home right now?
Only the kids.
Only the kids?
Just the three of them right now?
Yeah. Am I going to jail?
Yeah, that's fine. We're gonna walk this way, and I want to get you out of eyes.
What?
Kids. Hey, come on. Come on.
Why am I going to jail?
So I'm gonna explain it here in a minute.
What kind of mom leaves her house in a filth for months and a loaded gun in the kids' room? Amanda is that mom. She left her house in a whole mess after having 4 kids. Left a loaded gun on the DVD. It was so bad that the officers who first visited her house said the stench from the sink and the clogged toilet spent hours on their clothes.
What am I going to jail for?
You're gonna go to jail on 4 counts, child abuse. Okay, and I'm gonna explain it.
I was cleaning last night. I literally was...
Well,
One of her children was seen pointing the loaded gun on a group of people and endangering lives. What kind of mom leaves such a reckless life and does not care about her kids and the society? Amanda is that mom. She had 4 kids for God's sake. Inside that Palm Coast home, deputies found no running water, toilets overflowing with human waste, roaches and fleas everywhere, and the stench of decay so strong it clung to their uniforms. And scattered in the chaos, marijuana pipes, bullets under a child's bed, cocaine residue in the garage, and prescription pills left in reach of children. And in this explosive episode on Time and Tide, we are taking you through the mind-blowing series of how a Florida mom endangered herself, kids, and the society by being a deadbeat mom.
Is there anybody home right now?
Only the kids.
Only the kids?
just the 3 of them right now?
Yeah. Am I going to jail?
Yeah, that's fine. We're gonna walk this way, and I want to get you out of eyes.
What?
Kids. Hey, come on. Come on.
Why am I going to jail?
So I'm gonna explain it here in a minute. All right. Okay, we're gonna get out of sight of your kids. I'm gonna give you that respect. All right.
Can I at least have my daughter bring me my phone so that way I can call somebody?
We'll get everything.
What am I going to jail for?
You're gonna go to jail on 4 counts, child abuse. Okay, and I'm gonna explain it.
I was cleaning last night. I literally was...
Well,
Can I get shoes at least?
We'll get everything for you.
we'll get everything okay.
Those are 212 Flagler. We're gonna have a whiskey foxtrot secured.
Should we cover 10? Should we cover 10?
Let's say back to.
All right. So what's gonna happen? I'm gonna take you to jail.
Back to Flagler.
Okay. One, as a mother, you're supposed to provide
She's gonna be 10
I was
15.
cleaning the house. You guys...
adequate care for your children. I don't think you've met that level based on our observations yesterday. It's just the culmination of everything. I feel like
literally
you're
was.
kind
I
of culpable and
promise.
negligent.
No, can you please listen for me a minute?
Is there any shoes that you want to or need?
Yeah, and you ask my niece and nephew to give me my flip flops.
Well, I don't want them to see this, okay? So
Tell me this, what kind of mother leaves a loaded gun sitting on top of her kids' DVDs? And not just any gun. This wasn't some rusty piece tucked away in a drawer. No. Deputies in Flagler County, Florida say it was a Smith and Wesson 9mm handgun, laser pointer attached, a round in the chamber, and just lying there on the living room shelf. Right on top of Disney DVDs, where kids are supposed to grab movies, not deadly weapons. Now, I need you to answer honestly. If you walked into that house, would you think this was just a mistake or something much darker? And wait, because it gets worse. Deputies later found the magazine with 11 bullets sitting in the master bedroom. 11 chances for disaster. 11 reasons why neighbors are calling this case one of the most shocking they've ever heard. Do you still think this was just bad housekeeping? Or are we talking about outright child endangerment? But let's back up to that day, December 7th, 2024. Deputies arrive at a home on Fanwood Court in Palm Coast. They weren't even there for a child welfare check. They were responding to a weapons disturbance. So picture that. They come looking for a gun complaint and instead stumble into what they would later describe as a house of horrors. And honestly, how else would you describe a home with no running water? Let's pause there. Imagine your sink won't run, your bathroom doesn't flush. Now stretch that out for days, weeks, months. What do you think happens? Deputies say the toilets were literally filled with human waste. Let me ask you, how long would you survive in a house like that before you packed up and left? And it wasn't just the toilets. The home was infested. Roaches crawling, fleas biting, spiders in the corners. Trash everywhere. Spoiled food sitting out. The kind of smell you can picture just from a description. So tell me, do you think anyone could actually live in those conditions, let alone for innocent children? Yes, for kids. Living in this filth every single day. Getting ready for school in a house where you had to step over garbage, where every surface was crawling with bugs, where the bathroom was a health hazard. How does a parent justify that? I want you to comment below what's worse here, the gun left out or the environment these children were forced to survive in. Because here's the truth. Deputies didn't just shake their heads and walk away. They documented every inch of that horror. They saw the loaded firearm on the DVDs. They saw the toilets. They saw the infestations. And in that moment, the fate of Amanda Gaisford, a 37-year-old mother of 4, was sealed. Think about it. Would you call this neglect, or would you call it something criminal? Because Florida deputies didn't hesitate. They knew what they were looking at. And this was only the beginning. But wait, if you thought the gun on the DVDs was shocking, just hold on. Because deputies say what they found next was even more disturbing. And I have to ask, what's worse, a loaded pistol in the living room or drugs hidden inside your child's bedroom? Yes, you heard me right. Deputies searching the home of 37-year-old Amanda Gaisford in Palm Coast didn't just stumble on filth. They uncovered marijuana paraphernalia under a child's bed. Pipes, baggies, lighters, all mixed in with toys and clothes where a child was supposed to sleep. And guess what else was under there? 9mm rounds. Now tell me, how do you even explain that as a parent? How do you justify having bullets under your kid's mattress? Drop your thoughts, because I'm struggling here. And it didn't stop in the bedroom. Deputies pushed further into the garage, and that's where the evidence stacked even higher. They found vacuum-sealed bags with the smell of marijuana, paraphernalia scattered around, and yes, a bag containing white residue that later tested positive for cocaine. So let me ask you, what's more dangerous? Kids growing up surrounded by insects and waste, or kids growing up surrounded by drugs and guns? Which one do you think scars a child for life? And think about this. This wasn't some locked cabinet, some hidden stash far out of reach. This was a home where prescription pill bottles were scattered in plain sight. Loose pills, random bottles, right there where curious little hands could pick them up. Do you see the picture forming here? Because it's not just about one mistake, it's about a pattern of chaos. And let's not forget the animals. Deputies reported 3 cats roaming the same filthy house. If the kids are living in this squalor, so were the pets. Fleas, roaches, spoiled food. Imagine what those animals looked like. And here's the question nobody can stop asking. If this was the state of the home, if this was what law enforcement saw in a single search, how long had it really been going on? Days? Weeks? Months? Comment below, because honestly, what kind of timeline do you think this mess took to build? Now let's talk about the kids again, because they're at the heart of this. Deputies had no choice. They contacted the Florida Department of Children and Families, and just like that, Amanda's 4 children were taken from the home. And honestly, who can blame DCF? When the toilets don't work, when the kitchen reeks of trash, when there's cocaine residue in the garage and a loaded gun on Disney DVDs, what other choice do they really have? Would you have left the kids there? Or would you have done exactly what deputies did? Call in child protection and get them out immediately? And the sad part? This wasn't just about the filth. This wasn't just about the bugs. This was about hazards on every level: chemical, physical, emotional. Children sleeping above drug paraphernalia. Children watching movies with a gun on top of their DVDs. Children playing while roaches and fleas crawled across the floor. So here's the real question. Does this sound like child neglect? Or does this sound like outright child endangerment? I want to know what you think because Florida prosecutors didn't hesitate. And imagine the neighbors. Imagine knowing 4 kids lived inside that house every day. Would you have called authorities earlier? Would you have tried to step in? Or would you have looked the other way? Be honest, because this story forces us to ask those uncomfortable questions. Now here's where the tension really spikes. The deputies didn't just take the children. They also had to call an animal control to deal with the cats. That's how bad it was. Multiple agencies, all converging on this one house because the danger was that layered. Guns, drugs, waste, infestation, kids, pets, every angle of crisis waiting to explode. And Amanda? She was watching it all unfold. Imagine being a 37-year-old mother, standing there while deputies, child protection, and animal control tear through your house. What do you think was going through her mind? Was she panicked? Regretful? Or had she normalized this chaos so much that it didn't even shock her anymore? Here's the reality. By the end of that day, Amanda Gaisford wasn't just a mom in crisis. She was a criminal defendant. Her kids were in state custody. Her house was labeled a hazard zone. And her name was about to hit every news headline in Flagler County. But remember, this is just the build-up. Because what happened next, her arrest or charges or sentencing, is where this story takes a sharp, unforgiving turn. So what do you think? Does Amanda deserve sympathy as a struggling mother or condemnation as someone who endangered her kids? Drop your comments because Chapter 3 will answer what the court decided. And then it happened the moment Amanda Gaisford could no longer hide behind the walls of her filthy Palm Coast home. Deputies had seen enough. The kids were gone. The cats were gone. And Amanda? She was cuffed and booked into the Flagler County Jail on December 8th, 2024. Now tell me, what does it say about a mother when the state has to rescue her own children from her? Because prosecutors didn't waste time. Amanda wasn't charged with a slap on the wrist. She faced 4 felony counts of child neglect without great bodily harm. 4 counts, 1 for each child. Do you think that number was a coincidence? Or was it justice tailored exactly to the lives she endangered? And let's not gloss over the bond. $10,000. That's what it cost to walk out of jail after deputies found toilets full of human waste, drugs under a child's bed, and a gun on Disney DVDs. So here's the question. Should it have been higher? Should she have even been allowed to bond out? Drop your thoughts, because this is where the story stings. Fast forward to January 7th, 2025. Court day. The charges are on the table. And this is where things get complicated. Out of the 4 counts, 2 were dropped. Legal term? Null prost. Gone. Like they never happened. But 2 counts stuck, and Amanda had to face them head on. And here's the bombshell. One of those counts ended with a 90-day sentence. 90 days. 3 months. So I'm asking you, is 3 months enough for what deputies described as a house of horrors? And remember this, during those hearings, it wasn't the neighbors on trial. It wasn't the deputies on trial. It was Amanda, a 37-year-old mother of 4, now branded a criminal. Her parenting choices dissected in a courtroom. Would you have been in that jury box and said, yes, 90 days is justice? Or would you have demanded more? Now here's the twist. Amanda didn't spend years behind bars. Records show she was released from custody on February 19th, 2025. Barely 2 months after the arrest that shocked her entire community. And that raises the hardest question of all. What happens next for the children? Because while Amanda walked free, her kids remained in the custody of the Department of Children and Families. And that's a fact you can't ignore. So let's spell it out. A gun on top of DVDs, drugs under a child's bed, toilets filled with human waste, for innocent children living through it all. And the outcome? A 90-day sentence and an early release. Tell me, does that feel like justice? Or does it feel like a system that failed the very children it promised to protect? This isn't just Amanda Gaisford's story. It's a story about accountability, about what we accept as punishment, and about how far we're willing to go to protect children. So now I leave it with you. What's your verdict?